And a very good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tassie Rules, Tasmania's very own footy show. Terrific to have your company once again, our second episode of the week. And it is a great pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for all of the feedback last week as well. We had a huge audience and we're very grateful for that. And please keep everything coming in, your news from the clubs, from the competitions. We look forward to having that as well. We want you to be involved. But tonight we have got a brand new segment for the first time this year, and a big thank you to Little Rivers Brewing Company with thanks to the Crafty Cuts range. And we had so many photos sent in from all over Tasmania, from the northwest coast, in the north and down south as well. So what we thought we'd do firstly is thank, of course, Little Rivers Brewing Company up in Scottsdale for supporting the show this year. Our winner's going to take home a gift pack, but geez, it was a hard call for the judges this week. We had a stack, as I said, so we're going to show you a few. Firstly, this one here from Bradley Moylan sent this in from the Bridgenorth Football Club after their narrow win over Bracknell last weekend. We can see the debutantes there in the middle being showered, singing the club song. So a great shot there from Brad at Bridgenorth. Krista Lee sent us in the next photo. Now, have a look at this. There they are. These are the Ponting kids. Of course, Josh Ponting, the player coach of the Rochalee Football Club, dressed there in their dad's name on the back of the Rochalee Football Club jumpers. So that was in the Premier Division clash, Rochalee and South Launceston. So thanks to Krista Lee for sending that one in. And then how about this one from Wendy Gallagher? This is an absolute beauty. This was taken last Saturday, the round 2 clash in the NWFA between East Ulverston and Motten Preston. That's Brad Cox for East there at the bottom of the pack. A great photo. So thank you to Wendy for sending that one in. Dave Harding said this high-flying one in as well. A big hanger attempt for Dodgers Ferry against Lindisfarne in last weekend's SFL action. That's Jake Murphy getting up nice and high, but our winning photo, it is an absolute beauty. I'm sure you'll agree. Dakota Fraser for Signet with a head over the ball here. Have a look at that for a shot taken by David Clark. So he's our winner for the photo of the week this week, with thanks to Little Rivers Brewing Company from the Crafty Cuts range. We'll be getting a gift pack out to you next week. So thanks very much for sending that in. So to be in the running next week, all you got to do, send us in your favourite photo, or it might be a short video from wherever you're watching the football this week. All right, to tonight's show, we have got the Tasmania Football Club segment coming up. You don't want to miss it. The one and only Robert Shaw, ex-AFL coach and coach of the Tasmanian football team in that famous State of Origin victory. He'll be joining us. Our Club of the Week, with thanks to Harrison Agents. We focus on the Brighton Football Club, and then Abby Green's going to be joining us in the studio for our women's segment as well. So plenty to get through. That is, of course, thanks to Cleanaway. We're going to take a quick break. Joining us straight after the break, don't go anywhere, it's Robert Shaw.
Durable, reliable, heavy duty. Get the power you need from the people who know machinery. For sales, parts, servicing and expert advice, call DLM Machinery today or visit dlmmachinery.com.au.
Welcome back to Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show. Great to have your company on this Thursday night. Well, our next guest is one of the most passionate supporters of Tasmanian football that I've had the pleasure of meeting. He played 51 games for the Essendon Football Club between 1974 and 81 after being recruited from Sandy Bay. Coached Fitzroy, the famous Fitzroy Football Club, from 1991 to 94, and then the Adelaide Crows from 95 to 96, and famously coached Tasmania to victory over Victoria in 1990, that famous State of Origin match at North Hobart Oval. He's also the co-founder of the Tasmanian Australian Football Past Players, Officials and Family football Facebook page. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome back. He was with us last year as well, and as part of the Tassie Devils Football Club segment, it's great to welcome Robert Shaw. Welcome, Robert. Great to see you once again.
Yes, we caught up a few weeks ago at a momentous occasion. So great to see you, Rick.
Yeah, it was a great night down at St Helens for the launch of the Tasmanian Football Club, of course, the Devils. We will get to that shortly, but we had Kath McCann on the show last week from the Tasmania Football Club, of course. Now, the momentum here in Tasmania has been quite extraordinary from that night when the memberships went on sale, of course. Foundation memberships getting close to 200,000 now. It's been extraordinary down here. But Robert, you're based in Victoria. What's the momentum been like in your neck of the woods?
Well, it's very relative because what you have is a situation, we are in a football heartland, and the passion for Tasmania is quite extraordinary. And that's come about by a couple of points, that people know their footy and they know the contribution Tasmania has made, and I won't go through the names, and also the fact of the northern exposure and going into northern markets, and the rank and file and the heartland people see that as being dismissive of Tasmania. There is sensational momentum over here from my families, my mates' families. I've got my grandchildren signed up. They're signing up kids at their school. My daughters are signing up their girlfriends and boyfriends and what have you. And it is significant. And I know you're going to ask me, but I went to the gather round and there are jumpers in the crowd. There are T-shirts in the crowd and it was a talking point.
Absolutely fantastic. And it's been a talking point since that incredible night just a few weeks ago. Now, Robert, as we mentioned, we caught up down at the launch of the Tasmania Football Club in St Helens. Now, we were in a small town with football fans, but the sense of expectation and the excitement, it was something to behold, wasn't it?
Well, the rooms filled up very quickly. There was a full house, and I must pay a great compliment to Steve Wally and his team, and also AFL Tasmania's staff. And they did a fantastic job, a full house. And the people, the amount of young people there didn't surprise me, but was a great sign. Really young kids. And the parents, of course, that have been brought up in footy, brought their kids along. So I thought it was a fantastic night.
It was absolutely fabulous. We're seeing that photo on the screen where we all went outside for a big group photo there. It was a beautiful night down at St Helens. Now, you touched on, you went to Adelaide last weekend for the gather round. It was an extraordinary weekend of football. But coming away from there, and you are very well versed for your opinion here, because the grounds that we have down here in Tasmania, do you think we as a state could actually host a gather round in the future once we're in the competition?
I think Adelaide's the perfect place because of the inner city grounds of Norwood and the Adelaide Oval. I went out to Mount Barker, which is a community in the Adelaide Hills. So that was sensational. I don't think we could go to Scottsdale. I don't think that'd be quite ready for it. But certainly our main grounds, with a touch of paint, and roll the mower out and get it all ready, there's no doubt that West Park, Devonport, York Park, North Hobart and Bellareve could host a gather round really successfully. There's no doubt about that.
Let alone our new stadium and Dial Park, even down in Penguin. They've done an extraordinary amount of work. So
I forgot about that.
It'll be very, very interesting to see. On the stadium, Robert, obviously that is a massive talking point. It's been a huge talking point down here, of course, because we've just had a state election. But how are you feeling about things as we get to that next stage? Because we've got the club, we've got the membership, we've released the jumper.
Yeah, well, I'm just reading the news, and it seems as though that the Rockcliffe government have had quite a few positives over the last 48 hours, so that'll move hopefully into the stadium. But can I say something, Rick?
Sure, of course.
And the people that voted against or are voting against the stadium per se in an isolated context, I don't want the stadium. You've got to remember you're voting against $358 million to go into community football, for training administration, for game development, for young people and female participation, and also $20 million a year for the first 10 years of our club. You're also voting against $130 million development of York Park. So it's been done and run, but just remember the benefits. It's not about the stadium. This is about a club, building a club, and the component is a stadium, but there's many, many millions going to so many areas of community football for the benefit of Tasmania.
Indeed, I can hear your extraordinary passion, of course, for Tasmanian football, of course, the history, but also the future of our sport. And as we move forward as well, I want to touch, because obviously you've coached at the highest level in the AFL with Fitzroy and the Adelaide Crows, and been a part of the Essendon Football Club, of course, and coaching your state. What advice would you give to those responsible now as we move through the process? Obviously, we've got a CEO appointment coming up, but more so directly, your views on a senior coach. What do we need for a new team?
Don't go for the guru factor. Go for 10% less talent, but 110% buy-in. And I tell you what, and I don't want to embarrass them by naming names, but there's some outstanding talent over here coaching in a very, very senior clubs, assistant coaches that have done their time in Tasmania. And I'll mention Whitford, I'll mention St. Littlejohn, I'll mention Rawlings over at Norwood. Yes. We don't have to look too far. And these boys will have another 3-4 years of development. That is the way I would go. I wouldn't go for the older bloke. If you're going to go for a young bloke, you put a Fagan around him or an Eade around him, or even a Shaw around that young coach. But I think you know where I'm leading, and I think Tasmania have got some outstanding coaching talent that we don't have to look too far out of our own backyard. Because you know what? We've experienced people come down, get a job, and as soon as something comes up, off they go. We want commitment, 110% buy-in, and that might mean 10% less talent. I'll take the 110% buy-in every time, because what you get a Jack Jumpers theme, you get the Sheffield Shield. You know, Tassie won 3 Sheffield Shields. The Jack Jumpers have done something unprecedented. Why? Because it's an old saying, you catch and kill your own. You know, they're our people, they adopt our state, and you can't tell me it doesn't make a difference.
I love the passion that comes through, Robert, and even hearing you then that if there is the opportunity comes your way, and if they seek you to be a part of that team in some small way, that you'd be here in a heartbeat, because you just love this state, don't you?
Well, it's very important. It's like there's 2 components. There's the expats that are still as passionate as ever. You've seen that. And there's also the people that I believe strongly in that maybe need to get a little bit more recognition, and that is the stay-at-home people. That's the Halls and the Lethborgs, the Nichols, you know, what Wilkinson's done at City South, what Donahue did at Scottsdale, McCarthy, Bill Williams up at Devonport, Robbie Dykes, Noel Leary down the south. We need to, I know we embrace the pointy end, Richo and Rocket Eade and all that. We've been very fortunate, but there's a strong component of our local players that we need to pick up and say thanks very much, because they are as significant to keep the home fires burning, which they've done, as to anything that we've done when we left home to play in the AFL.
Beautifully said. I think you've covered the whole package, Robert Shaw. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show tonight. This is a new weekly segment on the Tasmania Football Club, and we thank you very much for... you can.
Can I make one more political statement? I love the foundation jumper. We don't have to go through it. And if we do wear it for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, that's great. But can you write to the powers that be, make the map a little bit smaller, and for goodness sake, and you'll understand this, put in King Island, Flinders Island and Bruny Island.
I think they'll be watching and listening.
For goodness sake, you can't leave them out. Look what King Island's done for footy. Been a mainstay of Tasmanian footy, and it needs to be on that map. See you later.
Good on you, Robert. Wonderful to see you once again. We'll catch up very soon. That is the one and only Robert Shaw joining us live here on Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show. Just before we go to a break, you've got till 5 p.m. Friday, the 19th of April, to order our foundation jumper. Mine's on the way. Have you got yours? Well, you need to be a registered foundation member. If you're not yet, you can head to membership.tasmaniafc.com. It's only $10 to become a member. There is the jumper. Obviously, Robert Shaw's got some thoughts on that. Let's see how it looks down the track as we get closer to 2028. But get your Guernsey. They are on sale now. All right, we're going to go to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very shortly.
Durable, reliable, heavy duty. Get the power you need from the people who know machinery. For sales, parts, servicing and expert advice. Call DLM Machinery today or visit dlmmachinery.com.au.
Great to have your company on Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show, where we go from speaking to Robert Shaw about the Tasmanian Football Club to talking about our club in focus this week. Now, this particular club was founded 140 years ago, almost 1885. They were formerly known as the Mangalore Football Club, and their last senior premiership was way back in 1998, and their last final win 2001. But there is a real buzz of excitement about the Brighton Football Club heading into 2024. Plenty to talk about with this proud and very historic club. And it's a great pleasure to welcome to the show this evening Paul Kennedy, coach of the Brighton Football Club. G'day, Paul. Good to have you with us, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Rick. Great to be on. It's always good to chat footy and, yeah, can't wait.
Excellent. Well, look, let's just start with the season. Obviously, the season just underway. Terrific start for you guys last week over Hobart, and we'll get on to Lindisfarne this week very shortly. But after all the pre-season and, of course, just running through the history of the Brighton Football Club, there is so much. But how excited are you about season 2024 when you consider, I guess, the lack of success the club had for some time?
Yeah, I guess it's another, it might sound boring, but it's another step forward in what we've been doing, and, you know, sort of came into the club at end of 2021 and, you know, you look back over the previous years, the club had 6 wins in 5 years. It had a year without a senior team. And yet the club was aiming really high. You know, they had their eyes on the Premier League right back then. And so it was a process of, rightio, how do we rebuild? How do we build the Colts? How do we get young Brighton people back to the club? And it's just been good. Every year the guys have stepped up. We've done pre-season. You know, last week in round 1 we had 2 players in the team older than 23. A lot of young guys who've really bought in and have got their best footy ahead of them. You know, they want to go on with it up with their footy, and so they're at a point now, probably year 1, it was just about, we just need to earn some respect, you know, not be the easy beats, make it that when teams play Brighton, you know, they've got to have a shower afterwards. Year 2, it was like, rightio, well, we've been pretty competitive. Let's see if we can take some big scalps and take that next step. And then this year, the guys are aiming pretty high. Like they go into every game expecting themselves to win. And it's, of course, not possible to win every game, but when you have that expectation, good things will follow.
Indeed. Now, you have a real passion, Paul, for that sort of whole of club approach. It's not just the players, it's not just the senior coach, it's all your volunteers, your assistants as well. What attracted you to this job at the Brighton Football Club? Because you touched on it. I mean, it was only around 5 years ago the men didn't have a senior team. You've had great success as well in your own personal career as a player in the VFL, won a VFL premiership, and of course, more recently coaching the Glenorchy Football Club. But what attracted you to this role at Brighton?
Well, I mean, if you talk about the whole of club approach, I remember I moved down to Tassie to coach Glenorchy, and it was quite late in the piece that had happened. It was sort of start of November, and, you know, a little while later we had the first training session. I flew down for it, and I got told, you've got your seniors reserves or senior development and Colts. And so I remember preparing for training for 60 people, and we had 19 show up. You know, we got to Christmas, we only had 32 players. Right. And I remember I was saying to my assistant coaches, like, where do we get players from? We need to field, you know, 2 teams. And there wasn't really an answer. It's like we could speak to this guy, we could speak to this bloke's brother, we could, you know, this guy's get him out of retirement. And sort of, I guess at that point I said, no, we need to develop something so that every year, you know, some players will leave, but you've got 10 to 15 rolling up every year into the seniors who want to play senior footy. And yeah, I held a session for the youth kids and we had 20 of them turn up, and I did what I thought was a really simple drill, and most of them couldn't do it. And at that point, I went home. I was sort of over the Christmas break. I was like, right, how do we fix this? Because this isn't anywhere where it needs to be. One, as a state league program, but two, as a sustainable club going forward. And so from there, that was really, I'd worked in youth development stuff before, but in terms of the one club development, that really resonated with me at that point. It's like, if we don't get this right, there's no magic formula where you can just bring in players from elsewhere in Tasmania to fill a team. You've got to develop your own. And so I guess that trained me well, I guess, coming to Brighton, where it was the same thing. Brighton hadn't had a Colts in 5 years. And it's like, well, if we can't get that right, and we can't get our 16s flowing to our Colts, flowing to our seniors, well, then history will just repeat. And somewhere down the line, we won't be able to field a senior team again. And so it's just super important. And it's also, working in working class areas like the northern suburbs, if young people don't have a footy club to belong to and to build their identity from and learn values from, well, there's a big hole in that community. And so that's more important than winning games of footy. So if we can get a program right where they really love being a part of it, and they can see where they want to go, and they can see that hard work will pay off because their mates who are just a little bit older than them have already progressed, then you've got something that's great for your community and also great for your footy club.
Fantastic indeed. Now, you've obviously got a season to go here in the SFL this year in 2024, and the club is continuing to develop, but you've also been announced as the sixth club that's going to be in the new Southern Premier League from 2025. As we know, this is going to be how it's going to look for the three regions having a Premier League from next year. As I touched on, you've been through the process of having played in the VFL. You're very well credentialed in terms of, I guess, having your views on this, and obviously with the TSL as well with Glenorchy. What do you think about this three regional league structure moving forward for, I guess, the future of Tasmanian football as we move closer, obviously with the VFL and AFL team?
Oh, look, I mean, obviously the new structure is great for the Brighton Football Club. It allows kids from Brighton and that greater Brighton region and going up into the Midlands to stay closer to home and still be a part of, what's the highest level footy comp in Southern Tas. And it's probably going to be the highest level comp in Tasmania if you look at the teams that are dropping back from the TSL. So that point of view is really good. It's very sad not to have a state league. Like Queensland has a state league, Victoria has a state league, South Australia, Western Australia have a state league. There's the Northern Territory League. There won't be a Tasmanian league. So there are some concerns there around the standard of football that's going to be available in Tasmania. I also think when I look around the states and territories, the best competition in all the states and territories is run by the governing body, which gives it a real level of respect. It's being taken seriously, but we're going to have a situation in Tasmania where there's no competitions run by the governing body. So there's only going to be local footy there. And that concerns me. I'd like the AFL to really take football in Tasmania seriously. The state government here puts a lot of money into football and has for a long time. And I think while some of the announcements from the AFL have been good, when you look into them, a lot of it is just focused around the pathway to the draft. And so for me, I think there needs to be a greater investment in local footy. There needs to be a greater investment in what's available for players who move past under 18s. Because once the AFL team comes in, that VFL team is going to be just filled with AFL listed players with a few top-ups. So anyone above the age of 18 who wants to really excel, do they have to leave the state? Is the state government putting in so much money for an AFL team to still have a situation where the best players have to leave the state? So I think it can be done better. I personally think if you're not going to have a state league, you need to have two VFL teams, one in the north, one in the south, both aligned to the AFL club. But there's got to be more opportunities. You can't just have a situation where there's only 3 or 4 players playing as top-ups. and the rest are playing in the 3 regional leagues. That's my personal view.
And it's really good to get your view as well, Paul, because as I said, you're well credentialed, having played in Victoria as well and coached at TSL level down here. And there is a lot of debate going around, particularly up here in the north at the moment, but it does impact our state moving forward to get this right. So hearing your views and those of others, it can only be healthy. So we'll continue to watch this space. We're going to finish it off. We're going to have a bit of a look at the fixtures coming up this weekend for the Brighton Football Club as a whole, because it's a big weekend coming up. You guys are taking on Lindisfarne this week, and for our viewers, you can see the screen there in front of you with all the weekend fixtures for the Brighton Football Club. But another big weekend, another step for your guys in season 2024. You must be looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a great test for us. You know, Lindisfarne are a very good team. You know, they've lost a couple of players, but they've brought in some real quality guys as well. You know, like bringing in Dylan Fife and Ed Stanley, getting Sam Adams back, getting Bailey Westbury back. Like, that's a really good football team. Very experienced. They know how they play their footy. They have great game awareness and understanding of what to do in particular times. So for us as a really young footy team, we look around and you can only marvel at and respect what Huonville, Cygnet and Lindisfarne have done over the last probably 5 or 6 years. So that's our step now is can we become one of the big boys? And this is one of the first tests this week, and we can't wait. It's going to be a great game.
Brilliant. Look, we really appreciate your time, Paul. It's Thursday night. It's getting towards the weekend. There's a lot of commitments for you, obviously daytime as well with being in the education department, but we really appreciate you coming on. Great to get an insight on the Brighton Football Club. It is our club in focus this week with thanks to Harrison Agents, but also your insights on footy in general. Great to have you with us, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Good on you. Great to have Paul Kennedy joining us. He is the senior coach of the Brighton Football Club, our club in focus for this week with thanks to Harrison Agents. Now, just a couple of announcements before we go to a break. We've got a kids clinic coming up. Now, this is in the school holidays. The details are there on your screen to celebrate the launch of the Tasmania Football Club colours, logo and jumper. As you can see, we've got 3 clinics happening. Launceston on the 16th of April at UTAS Stadium. Dial Park in Penguin will be the venue down the northwest coast on Wednesday the 17th, and the following day down at the magnificent Twin Ovals in Kingston, Thursday the 18th of April. If you want to register for it, you'll see the little QR code there on your screen. We'll also have it up on our Facebook page. Please jump on and register for that, because that should be absolutely fantastic. Now, something before then. Massive weekend coming up this Saturday as a lot of cars, a lot of people are going to be heading to the tiny township of Pyengana. We said last week, population 96. It'll be about 2,000 this Saturday. And there we can see former Ringarooma President Brendan Thompson. He is holding the Mighty Robins flag and also the bell that was found after it was stolen. It was brought back in the dead of night. That will be the siren / bell for this Saturday's game up at Pyengana. The East Coast Swans are taking on Perth in NTFA Division 1. That is going to be a fantastic day. And also a big shout out now to our umpires, the Tasmanian Football Umpires Association. They are going to be holding a women's and girls umpiring program over the next couple of Mondays down at the Newtown Oval from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Details are there on your screen. Monday the 15th and Monday the 22nd of April as well. So we need umpires, and they're just getting enough numbers at the moment, but when we get into winter, injuries happen, unavailability. So please, a great way to get involved in football. Now, just finally, I want to give a shout out to the Rosebery Toorak Reserves football team on the West Coast. Now, they won their first match in 8 years last weekend against Sprayton. So wanted to mention that, give them a big shout out, because that is a very historic moment for the Rosebery Toorak Football Club. All right, so that is our club in focus for this week. We're going to have a quick break. Abby Green is going to join me on the other side with thanks to Cleanaway with our women's football segment.
Durable, reliable, heavy duty. Get the power you need from the people who know machinery. For sales, parts, servicing and expert advice, call DLM Machinery today or visit dlmmachinery.com.au.
Great to have your company now. And with thanks to Cleanaway, it is time for our women's segment. And it is a great pleasure to welcome back to the show for season 2024, my co-host for this segment. Great to have you back, Abby Green. Welcome.
Thank you, Rick. It's a pleasure to be here as always. And we have a lot to talk about tonight.
We do. You enjoyed the off-season, have you?
Look, I had a busy off-season. I went to America.
You did. Lucky thing.
And then I obviously had the honour of going around Tassie with Jack Rewalt and Kath McCann with the community sessions for the launch and build up to the AFL team here in Tassie.
Absolutely, and you did a mighty job with that too. I know you went to and spoke at a lot of events. That's actually a beautiful segue, Abby, because we're going to talk about the future of women's football when we talk AFLW, because this is really exciting. The Tasmania Devils Talent Pathway under 16 girls. They probably have arrived now. There they are on our screen. 23 players, the future of women's football in Tasmania. The AFL National Development Championships are happening in New South Wales. So our girls are going to take on the GWS Giants Academy tomorrow, and then the Sydney Swans Academy on Monday. But congratulations to these girls. Not only what an honour, but what a stepping stone this is for them to be involved in something so exciting.
Yeah, so first of all, a massive congratulations. It's such a privilege to get out there and represent your state. And these girls have obviously worked so hard to be selected in the side. So in 4 years' time, they have a chance to be playing football in the highest level, but representing Tasmania. So good on them. I wish them all the best. And yeah, they're the future of Tassie.
They are. And it's such an important stepping stone for them. And the experience they're going to get to come up against clubs that are actually AFL, AFLW clubs already, and playing against that next generation. It's very exciting for them.
It is.
Some of these players are probably going to be the nucleus of our AFLW team when they take to the park.
They are. Like potentially future captain in there. How good would that be?
How good. How good. So good luck to the girls. We hope you do well. I know you'll do Tassie very proud. Now, something you'll be very excited about, Abby.
Yes.
The NTFAW season. Officially, there was a game last week. It was a round 12 game, which that confused me. But anyway, there's reasons about it when the rostering is done. But
yes,
next Saturday up at the Scottsdale Football Club, it is the NTFAW Women's Gala Day. You're the player, coach of Old Launcestonians, the reigning premiers.
Yes.
It's a big day. You beat the Hunted. You take on Scottsdale.
As always.
But it's also a big day because we are looking to raise a lot of money for the Launceston Benevolent Society. They do an amazing job. They provide assistance to women escaping family violence, those experiencing homelessness, and also families suffering financial hardship. The NTFA is hoping to raise $20,000 for the Benevolent Society. The fundraising is underway, so thank you to everyone who's already donated. But if you head to the NTFA Facebook page, you'll get the details, but also a QR code where you can donate to. So please get on board with that as well. But what a day it's going to be. Six matches. There are two footy grounds at Scottsdale, so they're side by side. But you guys open against the Scottsdale Football Club.
We do.
So that is going to be a tough start. They're always a very honest, very good team. But what are you expecting?
Well, I'm just glad that we're the first match of the day, because if it's going to be a bit dewy, it's going to get a bit muddy. So I'm just keen to get into the ground first. Scottsdale, they always pull together something spectacular when they're at their home. So we'll see how we go. It's only early stages, but we're just looking to get out there again. We've had a good rest after, the off season, and we got the flag. We got that done. So yeah.
Be careful what you wish for about the mud, because I can tell you the Scottsdale mud, it's generally red. It's probably not something that you want on your footy gear.
No, I do not, because I signed up 2 years ago, and my white shirts and all of the girls, they're still stained. Cannot get it out.
There you go. No. So maybe you prefer the 1 o'clock start, but
it is what it is.
Hey, we're going to hand over to you, because I know you're going to give us a bit of a wrap up of what happened in women's football across Tasmania. But it would be remiss of us to not start with some very, very exciting news. And I know she's a very good friend of yours, so I'm going to let you tell the story.
Wonderful. So it's obviously not a match, but it is related to a local football legend here in Tassie. She was the captain of the NTFA game last year. She plays for Scottsdale, and she also was the best in ground for the Tasmanian State game. And that's Deanne Taylor and her partner, Joe Krushka. They welcomed the safe arrival of their baby boy, Archie Krushka, over the weekend. So future
really
round 1 draft pick.
Round 1,
right there in 18 years.
Yep,
I'm calling it now.
Yep. No, very exciting. Congratulations to Joe and Deanne.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I've got my segment, so I'm going into
Take it away.
Highlights from Tassie. So I've done some research and I've gone to the 3 regions, the South, the Northwest and the North. And this is what I've come up with. So we're going to start with Hillwood v Deloraine on the weekend. Deloraine last year's premiers.
Yes.
However, Hillwood got the win.
Big
what are your
upset.
thoughts?
Great
Big
start.
upset. So moving into the season, that's a massive confidence boost for Hillwood. So good stuff there. Moving down to the Northwest, we had Wynyard take on Penguin. 1 point between them to get the win. Wynyard got the win in the end. They're last year's premiers. However, this is an incredible story and a massive shout out. So Chloe Haynes, former AFLW player for North Melbourne. She spent many years on the sidelines due to knee injury. She debuted on the weekend for Penguin, kicked 2 goals. How good's that?
It's great to see, isn't it? And great to have her back here and great,
Absolutely.
fit and healthy.
Absolutely. Fit and healthy. Kicks 2 majors. So we love that. Congratulations to Bronte Bryard from the Devonport Football Club. She played 100 games on the weekend. Massive milestone.
That's a huge, and there's not many that have played 100 plus in the women's competitions.
No, I'm getting to 28 and I've still got 2 more years to go. So see how we go. So big congratulations there. Now, this isn't a match, but it is exciting news. The Circular Head Football, the senior women's football team, will return to the competition for the first time since 2019. They gear up this weekend, coached by Alana Jago. So big best of luck to the girls and hopefully they go well. Love that. All right, we'll finish off with the South. So Kingsborough, they've been doing some hard recruiting throughout the off-season. They went down to North Hobart last year by 10 points. They've picked up former AFLW player Perry King. She got in the best on the weekend, and they've also had Molly Mitchell they've picked up. She is in the leadership group. So they eventually got the win over Clarence at Twin Ovals on the weekend. So good things, momentum building, and look forward to seeing how they progress. North Hobart defeated Glenorchy. Grace White kicked 3 majors. Meg Phillips kicked 2 majors. Mackie Sutcliffe, she returned home from the VFL. She was playing at North Melbourne last year. So it's so good to see all the Tasmanian talent returning back home just at the right time when we've announced the team. And then in Div 2, this is my final. I thought this was good. After round 1, we have 3 players tied up with 4 goals each. Lauren Johnson, Nat Daniels and Holly Ryan. What a start to the season, 4 goals each. Good job. That's
Fantastic.
me.
A great start to the season for you, Abby. That's a great wrap of women's football from all corners of Tasmania, including Circular Head. We've pretty much covered them well, and we wish the girls very well this weekend. Great to see you back in the competition.
Lovely.
As well. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. We're going to have a very special guest with us on the show next week as well, as we lead into another big week. But thank you for once again to everyone for your contributions to the show, for joining us and watching this week's program. Please, any news you've got, photos, videos, stories, we are all about community football.
Absolutely. And umpires. We want to hear, we want to see it, don't we?
We do. We need plenty of them. So go back and rewind the program and have a look at the info coming up. We've got some great segments and training sessions for wannabe umpires, particularly female umpires as well. Thank you to Cleanaway. Thank you to you, Abby.
Thanks,
Rick. Everyone for your company. We'll do it all again next Thursday here on Tassie Rules, Tasmania's dedicated footy show.